Hi everybody, and welcome to the seventh round of Tata Steel 2020. It's been very exciting to follow the first half of the tournament, and round 7 is a part of the second half. With us today, we have Filip Lindgren, who will help us to wrap up this round. Hi Philip, what do you think about the tournament so far?
Yeah, hi everyone. Yeah, it's been really exciting to follow. Obviously, Alireza has played extremely well. So it's very exciting to see if he can play the whole tournament. And also, Magnus haven't really played that good, so he has quite a lot to improve, I think.
Do you think Magnus might turn everything and win the tournament in the end, or will he end up maybe around top 5?
Well, I think he needs a win, so he gets some confidence, and then if he smells that he can win the tournament, then obviously he will be very dangerous for sure.
In a few days, we have a match between them. Alireza with the white pieces against Magnus. Do you think Alireza will continue playing well, or will Magnus maybe use his experience and use a mistake from Alireza to win?
Yeah, this match will be very interesting for sure. And also, I think Alireza will play very. I think he will play quite aggressively because he has no fear, what it seems from earlier games, and it will be an interesting match. But I also think that it can easily backfire because Magnus is, of course, very strong, and he can uh, he can refute Aliresa's play. So that will be a really interesting match. I look forward to it.
Okay, that's great. Let's look at today's round. I think we have two highlights that we should go through in the Masters. Vitugov and Van Forest. Van Forest actually won that game with the black pieces and is also one of the main challengers for the victory this year. It's a very
Mm.
big surprise for me. What do you think? Were you expecting this?
Yeah, I agree with you. Jordan, of course, he has played really good, very impressive play so far, and also his preparation has been very good. Yeah, he usually has good time on his clock, and yeah, I think he has surprised most of us. And today's game was, yeah, it was a nice win for him. I believe.
Okay, shall we start with that game and then go further to the challengers?
Yeah, sure, that sounds good.
We have playing e4 and Jordan played the French defense. And so far everything looks pretty normal. What do you think about this knight from c to e2? It looks a little bit silly, or is this like one of the new theory moves?
Yeah, okay, I'm not a French expert, but I believe it's not the most common. I think they normally play f4, but I guess it's an interesting sideline to choose. Um, yeah, maybe his intention was to play something on not the most normal to uh, to get into his preparation somehow.
Yeah, and Jordan, he seemed to be pretty prepared against this.
Mm.
So c5 is a natural move. So far everything looks normal, but I guess White's idea is to place the knight on f4 instead of playing
Yeah,
f4 himself.
yeah, that like an idea. Yeah. Knight f4.
Could it be possible to play b4 instead of bishop to d3 in this position? Or is that just simply losing a pawn?
Yeah, maybe, but yeah, your rook is hanging on a1. So what happens after c takes b4 then? It's possible
For
to take it.
example, if he takes this pawn, it's probably just a
Aha.
pawn up. I was thinking, yeah, you can't even play knight to d2 before because d4 is hanging.
Yeah, this
So
looks, yeah, it seems like it's
everything is
collapsing.
collapsing. Yeah.
Yeah, this queen a5 move looks really, it's disrupting for white because it's threatening on d4 and it's kind of hard to develop easily here.
Vityugov chose to play the bishop to d3, and then it seems like he's simply just giving up the d4 pawn. But I'm thinking if he would play the bishop to e3 instead and defend it.
Mm, yeah, I mean,
For example, something like this.
yeah, this looks, I mean, first of all, he's not losing any material and it kind of looks okay. I mean, bishop e3 is coming and castle will follow, so this is looks like a normal continuation.
Hmm.
Um, but I don't know what was in mind in Victor head playing bishop d3 because it doesn't look like the best.
Yeah, because in this position after bishop takes d4, I guess
Mm-hmm.
black will continue developing or maybe even putting pressure on the e5 pawn. For
Yeah,
example, if it's possible to go
this is
back with the queen.
yeah, that looks like a bit annoying.
Yeah,
Yes,
just
yeah.
to disturb the development.
Mm,
But
sure.
then the question is if white should maybe put the knight on d3 instead, or
Mm,
queen to e2, because the knight is a little bit misplaced on
yeah,
d3.
on the fourth. Yeah, I mean, yes, white just wants to finish development and
But
bishop e2 next and
even
castle. But
even bishop d3 maybe,
okay,
because after taking here, it might be possible to take on h7.
yeah, this looks interesting. Yeah,
But yeah, I'm not really sure about what will happen here because black got the center. For example, something like this maybe.
mm-hmm.
If white can't get a proper attack, then black is probably succeeding to play f6, e5 and taking the center maybe. Or
Yeah, this is a bit
or
ahead
even
for me.
if it's too dangerous, maybe just play bishop to d6.
Yeah, it's a bit more solid. Yeah, mm,
So
yeah, not so clear.
that might have been one opportunity, but let's continue with the move in the game. Bishop
Mm,
d3. And Van Forest took on d4, and Vityugov started attacking the king.
mm, five. That's a good move.
It feels like that one is closing everything off.
Yeah,
Playing, for example, g6 might have opened up some squares here on f6, h6.
yeah maybe white can also consider to
Yeah,
take on g6.
also taking would probably be a immediate draw.
Yeah, Yeah, but f5 is obviously a good move because if you take with en passant, it takes f6, then knight will take and threatens the queen and protecting h7. So this is nice.
Yeah, and then black got the center also. But also it's hanging on c3.
Yeah, and also yeah, white hasn't finished development also, so it's a bit lagging.
Yeah. So let's see what Vityugov did. He continued with castle. That's probably a good move. But pawns are hanging.
Yeah,
And this structure that is coming up, it's not a nice structure for white, because black don't have any problems and the only weakness on the board, a proper weakness, is the d4 pawn. Maybe also the e6 pawn for black, but it's easier to protect, it looks like.
yeah, yeah. Black is seems like a healthy pawn up, and he's also pressing on d4. It's hard to protect, so it looks very promising for black in this position.
Okay, so let's see what happened. Vityugov had to protect. And Van Forest is just putting all his pieces that he can attack with
Mm.
against d4.
I mean, it's this except of having an extra pawn, black also having the initiative and threatens white's pawn, so it's clearly black is in driver's seat here.
Mm. But do you see any plans for white? How shall he try to create something?
Yeah, I'm having a hard time to figure that out actually because um, black and white pieces seems a bit cramped at the moment. So I'm not so sure what his idea is. Maybe it's just a bad position he has. No,
Mm.
not sure.
Because I was thinking something like, instead of playing on the c-file, normal moves like rook a to c1, could he maybe try to create something with a crazy move like g4?
Yeah, it looks a bit desperate, but maybe it's an option. Um, I guess black could think about playing bishop e8 at some point and try to maneuver this bishop. But I it's an option for white to try to
Mm.
play on the e5 maybe, or maybe it's a possibility.
Yeah, it feels like desperate idea, but at the same time black can't enter on the c-file. And
Mm.
it feels a little bit like the only chance is to attack on the king. Try to
Mm.
sacrifice a piece and maybe create some perpetual.
Yeah, create something because if he plays it slow, then the pawn will eventually tell. So yeah,
Okay, if we
I agree.
go for bishop e8
Yeah.
in h3, then it's some pressure on the pawn on f5, so either g6 or taking on g4. Taking on g4, then h7 is hanging.
Mm.
So probably g6 is the only move.
And
It's
now it weakens dark squares a bit, so
Yeah, it's a bit of a crazy position now. So it
mm.
creates some opportunities for white. Not sure if he should start with rook to g1 or just take on f5.
Mm.
Maybe even knight f4 in some cases, even if d4 will be hanging. This might have been one option,
Yeah,
and maybe even Vityugov's last chance.
yeah, could be, could be.
Let's see how they continued here. He tried to take the c file instead, and Van Forest just exchanged the rooks and simply got the whole center here. We can see e6 and d5 just continuing. It's very
Yeah,
hard for white to create something.
I think Vichugo's plan must be to try to get some kind of grip or try to stop these pawns because if they begin to move forward, then yeah, then it's just white is busted.
Mm.
Okay, so already worse, but if these pawns start to go forward, then it would be difficult.
But for example here, instead of knight to d4, could it be possible to play a move like f4? Just
Yeah,
to create
that
some kind
certainly
of
comes to
block.
mind. Stop e5. Uh, yeah,
Maybe with the threat to play bishop to d4 and try to exchange the black square bishop.
mm,
Because then it would be some opportunities to block the squares with knight to f3 and
maybe he was afraid of something like queen a4, trying to these loose pawns on the queen side because it's hard to. It's quite annoying when the queen gets there.
mm, yeah, because if he tries to protect the pawn, the queen might enter and
Mm. Also, some bishop e5. Some
yeah,
bishop
that's maybe even better because then black is getting rid of the bishop. Okay, let's see what happened. Knight to d4. Yeah, there we have it. The idea with queen to a4.
Okay, still goes for it. Yeah.
Yeah, because now white can't even play bishop to c1. The knight on d4 is hanging.
Mm. Okay, so rook e1. Doesn't feel so nice to have it on the same diagonal as six bishop. Yeah.
Yeah, but we have black playing your previous idea, bishop to e8. But can't he just put some pressure on the black squares with the move like knight to c6? Or will the queen be trapped here?
Oh, yeah. That's that's unfortunate. Maybe he's hoping for these kinds of tricks.
Yeah, that
you,
then if he goes back, he's
if
simply losing a piece, yeah. Or yeah, it might be some crazy sacrifices here. But it seems like this is good for white.
yeah, this is not what he wants.
Yeah, or in this position, maybe black can get away with something, but this is
Yeah.
something you don't want to allow.
Uh, but yeah, it's tempting to play knight c6 because of this spin. So
Mm.
okay, let's continue.
Yeah, maybe even e5. but there might be the same
Uh,
type of ideas.
what happens? Can you take the pawn on F5, or is it?
Ah, okay, you don't have any tricks for black here. There is a check on e7.
Yeah, and also
And
T5
then
is, yeah,
d5 is
exactly.
hanging.
Maybe white black is not in time to. Yeah, E5 is the move you want to play, and if it works, then it's rushing. But now F5 is hanging, so okay.
And another move I would like to play with black pieces is something like f4, but in this case it's just not that good. But if we start with something like g6 and the queen moves, let's go back, something like this.
Yeah, F4 is like winning material. Yeah, so
And I don't think the queen will be trapped here,
C2 we
because
will play Queen A6 simply. Yeah,
and there will not be any perpetual here because of b5. Yeah,
yeah. Now
maybe this was the way to go.
what happens if you move the queen to another square, or if F4 is still coming? Maybe.
Yeah, I think f4 is the idea because you can't
Okay.
protect the knight.
Mm.
And
And also
h7,
E5. Also E5.
yeah,
Yeah, but
that's also one
F4 is
idea.
the yeah.
Also
Okay.
e5 and e4 then.
Yeah. Maybe this would have end the game a bit earlier.
Like say he goes back and then but can because now we're closing this diagonal for the bishop.
Mm.
So could he maybe get away somehow? Back.
Yeah, maybe B5 now we can take um,
And this one is hanging.
yeah.
Yeah, it's a tricky position. Maybe f4 is the right move.
Yeah.
Because then the black square diagonal is still open and it's very hard to do something for white.
Yeah.
But let's see how they continued here after rook to a1. This feels very comfortable for black too. And still, the only move might be g4 to create something.
Yeah, G4 again. Yeah. But then I think your idea of playing F4 is the threat now. No, E6 is hanging. So.
Okay, here and then g5. It feels a little bit like everything is hanging. It's not that easy to know what will happen here.
Yeah.
But still, it feels like black is a pawn up and he got some advantage.
Yeah.
Say, for example, taking here. I guess he got to take the bishop. Takes back.
Maybe
Now e6 is hanging, so he maybe wanna save that one. Question is if
take
bishop
take on
d7.
F6.
I mean take here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is still creating some counterplay for white.
Mm.
It
We
feels
need
like,
to still fix.
yeah, it's not completely over here.
Yeah.
He got a nice knight on d4, but he's down a pawn.
Yeah.
And the white square bishop for white is a bit stronger than the black one.
Mm.
So, yeah, Vitugo was maybe just a bit afraid of creating even more positional weaknesses.
What did he play instead?
He's going for f4 to try to block the pawns.
Mm.
Queen to c4. Yeah, it's a lot of threats, but something that came to my mind is, isn't this
Yeah, I
one
also
hanging?
thought about this move. Yeah, it looks like a pawn. Um,
Takes back.
bishop takes d4. Always this g4. Yeah.
That's the only trick. For example, if black would take,
Let's go deeper into this. Yeah. No, it's interesting because it seems like White has been waiting for this the whole game. He plays Queen h5 and plays Queen h3 just to keep this idea alive.
yeah, and he never plays it properly.
Yeah.
Uh, but here it seems like f4 is just hanging.
Yeah. I'm not sure what's the follow is. Maybe he found that another way that was also promising.
Yeah, it feels like many moves are promising for black here.
Yeah. Okay.
If
That's
he
more preference.
if he managed to break the block on the dark squares, then the pawns are just running.
Hmm.
Okay, it was hanging anyway, so he took it a little bit later.
Yeah. Okay. That explains. So now it's two pawns, right?
Yeah, if I calculate them right, it's two pawns.
Yeah. So the only thing that White has compensation for is that he can create a passed pawn with his 3 against 2. So that's his only hope, basically. So let's see.
Yeah, he's trying to push the pawns. And now it's three pawns.
Hmm?
But he got a pin on the c file. We have b6 and g4.
Now you move g4. About time.
Yeah, and he's giving up some tactics here, Jordan.
What was the plan with g4?
It's probably to avoid checkmating on the last rank, because there is a trick. If he takes here, for example, and black takes, and white want to create this passed pawn, then there might be a checkmate on the last rank.
But if we in this position plays yes, make some luft.
Moving the king?
Yeah, yeah.
I think this check might do it. So it's one crucial tempo that black get.
Mm. Then the opposite colored ending should win with 4 extra points.
Yeah, that shouldn't be any problem. So if we go back to the g4 pawn, I think that Jordan got to start pushing his pawns. Because now white got at least 2 pawns that are further or closer to the 8th rank than black's pawns to the 1st. So you should maybe just push this one. Just to have one pawn running.
What happens after?
The same idea with taking.
Yeah, same idea as he played in the game.
Okay, so let's take. The pawn continues. We exchange them, and yeah, let's run with this one.
Yeah, b7. Yeah, they're just further down the board. You mean compared to the game?
Yeah, I think it looks a little bit better. Or even in the position before here, instead of pushing, maybe starting with this one, just to close off the dark square bishop from coming to f4 and trying to exchange the white square bishop. And if white don't want to exchange it, then d5 is d5 is available for the black white square bishop. For example, here, there, he got to take.
Yeah. What happens when king g2?
You don't want to queen.
I wanted to get let's say get inside the box.
Okay.
Square.
We continue
I guess
here.
it's yeah. Okay, let's say queen.
This looks nice. Just take this one too, maybe.
Yeah, I doubt this. White has any chance here.
It's 5 pawns and the king is coming up here.
Yep.
The pawns are just running and black will be winning. But king g2 was a nice idea.
Yeah, I believe if it were only like 1 pawn, then it would have been better. But like 3, then it's a little bit different.
Yeah, or if he's trying to, for example, queen immediately.
Yeah.
Then he can't get this pawn.
Okay.
So let's see what happened. Jordan took the pawn. Vityugov got some last tricks.
We actually won a piece with this trick.
Yeah, but it's 5 pawns.
Yeah, still, I mean, I actually think that it should be lost, but I think Pichugov got some hope here with his extra piece. Because now it's a bit, it wasn't the most straightforward of that. Probably it should win. still.
Mm. We can see a few more moves. Vityugov took one pawn, so now we're down on 4. Jordan simply want to exchange one bishop. Yeah, now it's very difficult for Vityugov. This is over.
Yeah, it's going to be 4. I mean, black can create 4 passed pawns, so it's a bit too much.
Yeah, we have king g6 here. There might have been one last chance for Vityugov. For example, say h5. And then we have a block on g5 here. We can play
Mm.
bishop to c1.
Yeah.
And now d4 is not threatened, so black want to push.
Mm.
And white simply sacrifice this one. Gives a check and runs with the king. And this would be a really nice block for white, and I think it's a draw.
Well, that's very very nice. Yeah.
Even if black's
Yes.
3 pawns up, I think he can't continue here.
You think it's a fortress somehow?
Yeah, it looks like that, because how will...
I believe the only idea for black is to like go around with the king somehow.
Yeah, but it
To
feels like white can keep the king on c1. And as soon as black comes with the king to e2, you put the bishop back to g5.
game.
So,
You know,
for example, here, you have the bishop down here somewhere. Here. And then, if white would play bishop to b4, then this is probably winning. Because then you have a
okay.
passed pawn on the h
Yeah.
file. But if white keeps the bishop on the right file, then I think it's very hard for black to break the
Yeah. Right.
fortress.
That's very nice. That's 3 pawns is not enough in this case, which is quite funny. That's the thing about the opposite colored bishop endgames, that this strange uh, draw position can occur. Yeah?
Yeah,
Mm.
but Jordan didn't make that mistake. So after h4, h5 looks good, and following with g5 just to create another passed pawn. But he played king g6. And we can just see how it finished, because this feels like it's over. And the pawns are just queening.
Yeah, just running down the boards, all of them.
Yeah, and this is where Vityugov resigned, because the main threat is probably just g3, and it
Yeah,
can't be stopped. So even if white tries to create some kind of fortress to cover both c8 and d8, we have g3 check, taking, he queens, got to take the queen, and then he can't stop the third pawn.
yeah, yeah. Okay, that was. I mean, it was a nice win for Jordan, and which puts him in a great spot in the tournament. So, but also it was, to me, it looked like a bit too easy win. because Vichugov usually is really strong, and this was probably not what he wanted. So it was a bit surprising to me that he was like kind of lost after like, or just clearly worse after what was it, 10 moves or something.
Yeah, something like that. He just lost the pawn and yeah, it didn't look that good. He never played really g4 in time. Uh,
Yeah.
that could maybe have created some kind of at least shaky feeling for Jordan, but it felt pretty safe all the way.
Mm.
Shall we move forward with Ferrugia Xiong?
Okay, sure.
Okay, let's see how Ferrugia, the youngest player of the tournament, gained his, is it fourth victory now?
It's already fourth. Yeah, he keeps on winning a lot of games. That's really impressive.
Yeah, and
Okay.
he's playing all kind of positions. He's not taking early draws
Yeah.
and trying with a little bit more aggressive e4. He's not playing d4 and positional chess. He likes tactics, I think.
Do you have any experience with this opening? Awesome.
Not that much actually. Maybe very long time ago, but now when I'm getting a little bit older, I'm trying to play safe and solid openings.
I see.
I'm more afraid of losing than eager of winning nowadays.
Yeah, yeah. Larissa is too young for this. he will. He. It's good that he keeps playing these fighting positions.
But at the same time, in this game against Xiong, I think he's number 2 junior in the world after Ali Reza for the moment.
Mm, okay.
And he chose a more positional way of playing this. Because
Yeah.
taking on c6, I think it's a little bit rare.
Yeah. I believe it's it's possible. Yeah. To go for this balanced position. Black has the bishop pair, but his pawn structure is a bit damaged. So I mean, both have their ideas, both sides.
So let's see what happened here. So who's better here in the opening? What do you think?
I kind of prefer White here because he's a bit more flexible what to do. He has this pawn center, and also he can, in the long term, try to play for f4, as he did, as Alreza did, and also I kind of prefer White in this position. What do you think?
Yeah, white is a little bit more comfortable to play. I'm not really
Yeah.
sure what black's idea is. Probably
Mm,
trying to break in the center, but playing the knight to b6, it feels like a square where you don't want to put the knight, because you
no,
don't
I
have to
agree.
continue with it. I would like to have the c5 or e5 square for the knight.
Mm,
So how about maybe taking this one and playing c5?
that's fine. Yeah, that's some clear clear plan in mind. So
just to create some squares. For example, if he plays d5, then you have at least a square to jump in at,
mm, it looks okay for. Maybe
creating,
could
opening up for the white square bishop and maybe playing c6 eventually after some time.
maybe there's some idea for white to go play e5 instead of d5. I mean, it's
Mm.
tempting when the rook is on e1 and the queen is on
Ah, okay. Yeah, maybe. I guess you have to take it.
e8. Mm.
Takes back.
I guess you can't take on e5 because also there's some queen d5 check at some point.
Yeah, so
Now, yeah,
yeah, this is unbalanced and it feels like white is having some pressure.
yeah, yeah, it's, it's like that.
Yeah, white is never allowing the e5 square for the black knight.
Mm.
But even waiting in this position, maybe playing the queen out. Because it should be, I think it would be better for black to try to exchange queens, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, black has the bishop pair, so long term it would be nice, but kind of like at the moment I kind of like these pawns for white d4 and e4. But yeah, I agree that white wants to keep the queens on the board.
Okay, this might have been one possibility to maybe play c5 eventually and try to
Mm.
create some squares. But we can see how they continued after knight b6. Alireza put some pressure on e5. It feels like a pretty equal position with a slight edge for white, because of
Mm.
the center and like there's more dynamic in the white position, like you said
Yeah, I
earlier.
think it's a bit also bit easier to play for white. It's quite more comfortable to know where to put your pieces. Black, not so clear.
And taking this pawn now after so long time, I'm not sure if that is correct.
No, yeah, no.
Maybe even playing c5.
Mm.
For
Interesting.
example, if he continues, you play c4, open up this nice diagonal from c5 to g1.
Yeah. Also preparing c6 at some point. Also just
Yeah,
try to break.
having some, trying to create some flexibility in the black position. Maybe jumping
Mm-hmm.
around with the knight to d3
Mm.
eventually, or queen out first. Might have been one idea. But he took and tried to open up the position for the bishops.
And now at least Left has improved his pawn structure a little bit, but he lost his bishop pair, so yeah, that both pros and cons for that exchange. But I believe White should still keep an slight edge here because he has the center, and also he can. I mean, his knights are quite annoying for black. They can go to f5, and also the other one is coming. So it looks still preferable for Alireza. I think.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah,
Yeah, I
Jeffrey
mean,
is very defensive here.
yeah, he's very solid, but it's a bit passive. So
I don't understand this b3 move. It's probably to play c4, but you can see that black want to play d5. He's putting all pieces on the d file, removing the queen from the e file. You maybe should even have played queen to c6. Or is knight d7 annoying?
mm,
Because there might be tricks like this.
yeah, if you had Queen H5 in this position,
Yeah, this would be
or
nice.
Queen G3, maybe it's very unless you have to like move your bishop.
Yeah, going here and here.
But now you can take G6.
I mean,
Ah, maybe no, maybe you can. Okay, Queen H4. So
yeah, but king h6 here.
okay, okay, that was not my plan, but
Yeah, but then white is quick with the rook up to h4. And it seems like it's pretty hard to defend. For
mm,
example, here, and there's not enough
yeah,
time.
okay, so maybe you can't. You're not threatening to take Queen G6.
Yeah, it's
Okay,
probably not working, but it looked funny.
yeah, that's what you yeah, aim for. I mean, you try to get this meeting that.
Yeah, maybe even after queen to c7, you can start with queen to f3
Mm,
to threat the knight check and checkmate on h5.
yeah,
But okay, let's continue with queen to d7. Because now the d5 is probably the aim here. Uh,
yeah, this is a backward pawn, so he must try to push this forward because otherwise it might be lost with like D1 coming up and huge pressure on this pawn. So that's, he has to play for this move D5.
but another idea here could be, for example, queen to g3, d5 takes. For example, taking with the knight to protect d7, and white can play rook e7 anyway.
That's nasty.
Taking the rook, and we have a checkmate.
Yeah, that's nice. So actually, yeah, Queen G3 is kind of stopping. It's stopping D5 to this idea.
Yeah, and then he
Yeah,
could maybe play b3 and c4 or
yeah.
rook to d1. Okay, he continued with b3. We have d5 on the board and e5. Now it feels like black is getting some play here and taking over the center.
Yeah, he has improved his position at least. That's for sure. I believe this structure is still favorable for white what happened now.
Yeah, what could have he done here? Maybe c4, but then he's giving up the d4 square. Maybe playing d4 himself.
Hmm? D4 in this position.
Yeah, just to open up some squares for the bishop. But then white will probably play c4 and just close off everything.
Hmm.
Maybe even taking here. It's very hard to tell. Something like this.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's many opportunities.
Hmm.
Let's see
Okay,
what.
let's see what happens.
It feels a bit rare that black is closing the center instead of taking on e5. Because I think the knights would be more favorable when it's a closed position.
Hmm. And also this protected pawn pawn on e5, it should, it should give white an edge.
Yeah. Okay, now he is at least trying to open up the position. At the same time, Jeffrey just gave away a pawn.
Hmm.
But it feels also like this is somewhere about time trouble is getting into the picture, and
Yeah, I mean,
he was maybe just thinking about that black should take the queen on d7.
yeah, that was then then he can pressure the c pawn. So
Yeah,
yeah, okay.
yeah, this feels winning for white. Now he have a knight on d4, he have a passed pawn to play with, and
Mm,
it's a clear advantage.
yeah,
And let's see how Alireza used his advantage. I'm not sure if there is a last chance here because the knight is so strong, you can have it both on d4 and d5.
I mean, what's interesting to think about is that even if white wasn't a pawn up, then white would probably still be a bit better because the black's pawns is on light squares, the f pawn and c6 pawn.
Mm.
So they're targets. So this helps white.
Yeah, I agree. And there the pawn goes all the way down to e7. Yeah, now he's 2 pawns up. But he's at least losing one of them, so
Mm,
1 pawn up again. But 3 against 1 on the king side, that is simply winning.
yeah,
Maybe there would be some chances if the c5 pawn was not there, because then if black managed to sacrifice the bishop for 2 pawns, in
mm,
the end, we could have the rook and knight against the rook. But now when white got the c pawn, it's simply very hard for black.
That stops counterplay.
And the f pawn, the knight is jumping in. He will probably protect those two, or maybe just go with the g, yeah.
It seems like he can just run with this G pawn.
And there we go.
Yeah, it's, I think it was pretty. It was a good game all through for Alireza. I mean, he was slowly outplaying John, in my view. Of course, there were some moments that he could have even improved his play. But I think overall, it was a good game.
Yeah, it was nice to see Alireza playing positional game,
Mm-hmm.
because it feels like he's really good in the tactical part, and this felt a little bit more like a positional way of slowly
Mm-hmm.
improving his position.
Yeah, I agree. Also, he's not scared of taking just a good ending instead of like going for a mating attack. He just plays what the position demands. Kind of.
So, shall we continue with the challengers? Because
Okay, sure.
now in the Masters, after the win of Ferrugia, he's up on 5 out of 7. That is really incredible result. And he is leading the tournament alone.
Yeah, that is very impressive.
Okay, so let's continue with our own Grandelius and see what he did today. So today he had to play Nodirbek Abdusatorov. What
Yeah.
what do you think about this player?
Yeah. I mean, this is a very young player. I mean, he's born 2004, so he has the future ahead. So, and also he's has quite an impressive rating already, 26 35. So, I mean, a great talent. So, Niels have to watch out because this is a upcoming star, I believe.
Yeah, so Nodirbek is even younger than Ali Reza. So this might be the next year's challenger.
Yeah.
Or he's a little bit way off in the tournament because he's somewhere in the middle, I think, for the moment.
Yeah.
Maybe in 2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
So Nils tried to play a little bit more safe positional way, it looks like, starting with knight f3 and c4 against the young talent. He tried to use his experience, I guess. Even if Nils is not even 30 himself yet.
No, I think it's a normal decision to like try to go for more positional approach or understanding, playing against these young kids uh, that knows a lot of theory and very tactical approach sometimes. Okay, so Catalan.
Yeah, and yeah, this looks like a few normal moves, and Nils chose the queen c2 variation. I'm not sure if Nodirbeck is a Greenfield player or not.
Yeah, I'm not. I don't know really what his main weapons, but yeah, Catalan is a solid approach. Yeah, I myself played this with both colors, so very solid.
And Black is choosing a6 b5. You can maybe explain the different options here.
Yeah, I mean here the plans Black wants to play go for c5 because then he will free his position, and also if this one is not, if he doesn't play c5, then there's a risk that it will become backward. For instance, if White gets to play a3 b4, so Black wants to, yeah, exactly. So that's one of the key strategic ideas in this line. So with Niels' move here, bishop d2, one of the ideas is to play bishop a5 with which looks a bit weird. What's the bishop doing there? But the point is that it's trying to stop c5. I actually remember when I first saw this move, it looked a bit weird to me. What's the idea of this? And also, yeah, exactly. That's the main point of the knight d7, then bishop a5 is coming. And also it frees a square on c1, so c1 is also in mind.
Yeah, for example, something like this then. And then
Mm,
e4 and take on c7.
yeah.
So Black continues with bishop e4. Queen c1. Isn't that a little bit strange square for the queen? Don't you want to have a rook on c1?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, this bishop b4 is a bit destructive move, so I guess that's why it's the I believe it's the main line. So, but I believe you. I guess you can also play queen b3.
Yeah, then we have a early draw here.
Yeah,
Then they didn't have to play that long as they did.
yeah.
But for example, yeah, he can't put the queen on e3. That looks really strange.
Mm. Sometimes it's okay to do this. Knight c3 is coming and to threaten this bishop. So it's sometimes possible to put it there,
I'm just
even though
thinking
it looks
about
strange.
something quick, but then white can play b4 maybe in some positions. I was thinking just if you go and sacrifice one pawn and put some pressure on c5. I'm not really sure about how this is.
Yeah, maybe this is a5 is
It looks at least a little bit tricky.
mm.
Yeah, that was one option, but Niels continued with queen c1 and c6. Didn't he want to play c5?
Well, the point of this move is that his bishop is outside the boundary, so it's more justified in this position to. It's a possibility to go for the c6 because the bishop is outside.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
and also, yeah, and also the main point is also when black, or so when white plays knight c3, and then black can drop back with his bishop to, like, for instance, g6, and since the pawn is on c6, then there's not any immediate threats on the diagonal, um, h1 a8 diagonal. So that's
Okay.
also
So for
quite
example,
like this. Yeah, I mean, if the pawn wasn't
then
on
yeah.
c6, then knight e5 would have been really strong.
Okay. Let's see how they continued here. This looks pretty normal.
Mm.
And takes with the A. And I don't like this move from Nils, taking on d5. Because
Yeah, I was a bit surprised by that move also. Yeah.
shouldn't he try to play against c6 somehow? But at the same time, black is threatening to take on c3, and e2 is hanging.
Mm.
So maybe rook e1. But
Yeah, maybe he was afraid. Black is also threatening sometimes to take on h4, so maybe,
oh yeah, h4 is hanging right now.
yeah.
So he
So
got to
that's the
go back.
when he plays knight d5. Yeah, maybe he should go back. Yeah, maybe.
Because you want to keep the tension on c6, I think.
Mm. I mean, now you have something to play for.
Yeah. But still, it's very unclear. This feels like a very safe option. Sure, he got maybe a little bit better bishop, or he can maybe exchange the bishop and keep the knight. But the black square bishop is covering everything because the pawns are on the white squares.
Mm.
So it's probably a very safe draw in this position.
Yeah, I mean, it's
The,
problem is that it's symmetric. Isn't it?
yeah, and this last move, rook a4, is maybe allowing something. For example, entering with the queen, and then maybe playing b3. If you want to go for that one, Nils might be able to chase something. But then the b pawn is very quick, so you got to watch out. Maybe
Mm.
protect the b pawn first. I'm not sure, but this is at least a little bit more active white queen that can start chasing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he continued with b3, and then Nodirbek went back to cover c8. Yeah, but
I was
exchanging.
actually a bit surprised that he took on a2. I thought he, I mean, I thought he would try to keep the queens, because I thought that he wanted a position that with like, for instance, a queen and knight versus the queen and bishop. Maybe like, for instance, queen c6 in this position. It's an alternative.
Yeah, then he can't take here.
Uh,
Maybe move the rook.
yeah, maybe try, yeah, like d3, and
But
also
then
like this
the
is.
b pawn is hanging.
But also, can you play queen e8 and rook c8, something like this, or is it?
Ah, yeah, it's maybe just simply a checkmate down here. Something like this, I guess.
Looks a bit scary. It's not just winning. Yeah, maybe it's just winning. Yes. So I think it's maybe you should try to be a bit more safe. So, yeah. But then you have activated your queen,
Mm.
so maybe you can play something like d6. Or maybe try to penetrate with rook as well.
Mm. Yeah, then black got to be a bit passive and maybe go back.
Yeah.
Queen here, rook is entering.
Okay, now
Or
the
maybe
knight.
even in this position you can give a check.
Ah, that's nice. That's nice.
Maybe the queen got to go somewhere. Yeah, but it feels like white is getting a nice edge.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming
I
with the
mean,
knight and
yeah, the knight is
taking one
coming
of the
on to
pawns.
c5 and f4. And the problem is for black is that his bishop is mainly looking into a wall there.
Yeah.
It looks into d4. It's a bit passive.
Mm. Yeah, that was probably a better way to continue. It looks like at least white to get something out of the game. Now they simply just exchanged everything and it ended with a draw.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is just a sad end game. It's maybe even better for black now. But yeah, it's very
visually,
yeah
maybe.
visually, yeah. Because if you get the passed pawn on the h file,
Yeah,
maybe running around with the king over here or something. But then e6 will be weak, so
yeah,
yeah. No, it's a draw.
yeah,
And yeah, it was a bit boring game of Nils today, but uh, let's hope he will do better tomorrow.
yeah,
He at least is getting back into the tournament and got a win, so he's not more than a full point behind the leader. And
mm,
then he still got some small chances.
mm.
And
I mean, it's
now he simply just took and yeah,
yeah,
sacrificed the knight for the pawns. And this is the draw.
it was a solid game by Niels. He didn't take too many risks in this position, so I mean, it's always a normal result.
Yeah. So which is the last game we're gonna go for? I think Mamedov's game today, even if there were many draws, Nihal got a slight edge in the opening and won the game. The rest of the games looked very solid. Warmerdam had a pawn up in the opening, but didn't really manage to make something useful out of it, and it ended in a draw. But the game between Ganguly and Mamedov, it was a lot of crazy things. So I think we should take a look at that one.
Yeah, I agree. That was a really interesting dragon opening, which is not so familiar or not so popular these days. So let's go for that.
Dragon is usually a very tricky opening with a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, I used to play a dragon when I was a little kid. That was my chess coach said I you should said to me that I should learn the dragon. So I did.
Yeah, when you were a kid, it was giving a lot of free points.
Exactly.
And let's take a look at the dragon. It didn't start off like a normal dragon, but it developed to one.
Yeah, it started like accelerate the dragon, which is when you delay moving the d pawn.
Yeah, usually you play the d6 pawn
Hmm.
instead of knight to c6.
Yeah.
I had some really fun games with white when I was a kid,
Okay.
against the dragon. Then I never really developed this white square bishop. I like to play queen to d2. Everybody played these regular moves, like black setup, and then the black is usually playing the bishop to d7, rook to c8, around with the knight to c4, and while that is happening, white is simply just attacking. Taking this one, taking that one, and you get a really nice attack on the king here.
Yeah. Yeah. I
While
mean, this attack is really, really dangerous for black. It's such an easy plan, but it's so hard to stop it. You have to make some kind of concession to stop this seemingly straightforward attack.
yeah, and nowadays, or people who know a little bit more theory and how to create counterplay, then this plan is not that good because of early d5
Mm.
to just break the center and create something.
Yeah.
But let's take a look at this game, how it developed. Ganguly played bishop to c4 to avoid the d5 for black, and then the opening continued pretty much normally. I think this is probably theory, all of it.
Yeah, this is some non-theory, and also this move rook c5 is also theory. It looks a bit strange. What is the rook doing in the middle of the board? But its
Mm.
purpose is to keep more control along the fifth rank. Um, that's the main idea.
Ah, okay,
It's
so
kind of hard to, yeah,
for example, if he goes back here and want to play g4 and take on h5, then the rook is
yeah,
covering
exactly.
h5.
Many lines it's supporting the h5 pawns, and also there are some lines where you can even sacrifice this rook and some maybe on g5 at some points, or when something lands on d5. So it's also an ID.
Ah, okay.
So if you don't know uh, that rook c5 is a theory move, then it's not so easy to find over the board.
Mm. And the Ganguly continued with king b1, rook to e8. Is it to free the knight? Because I thought one initial idea would be, for example, queen to a5, and if white plays, for example, something to play g4, you play rook to c8 and try to take on c3. But this is maybe not
Yeah,
that good
I
idea.
mean, in some cases, if you play queen a5 early,
Knight to
maybe there's some
d5.
like d5 at some
Yeah.
point. For instance, if you maybe you can maybe
Yeah, this is threatening the queen back. Because if taking, exchanging here, and
yeah, maybe this is
e7 and b7 is hanging.
mm, yeah. I guess he wants to protect this pawn a bit more before
Yeah.
going up a5.
So white is continuing with his plan to attack, and queen a5 here. Shouldn't he
It's
maybe take on g4?
yeah, take on g4 is definitely an alternative.
Because if white takes back, then the bishop covers everything.
Mm,
And
sure. I think
he got to play f4 then.
f4 is a possibility, and also sometimes h5 is also a possibility with f4. And sometimes you can even like go all in with this move just to sacrifice everything.
I was thinking, okay, so if he takes here, for example, the queen enters, then sacrifice here.
Yeah. Okay.
Or, yeah, this is not possible. Maybe it is.
Maybe bishop f8.
No, this is just checkmate.
Ah, okay. Also,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, so there are some ideas around the king.
Yep.
But, okay, queen check, then he can just maybe go back. Ah,
But
no,
then you have queen
it's
g6.
hanging, yeah.
So this is a bit unfortunate, but otherwise it would be a nice defensive resort with this rook on c5.
Yeah, it feels like it's very dangerous here, but okay, so if he takes with the rook here, is this possible now? Or maybe not.
Ooh.
Or is there another type of checkmate? Probably it is. Something like this again. So when taking, you have check, going back and then check, and it's a checkmate. Got to play the bishop, taking here.
I take with the queen. Yeah.
Okay, it's just checkmate. Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Okay, so h5 is probably the move.
It's what happens if you take with the knight?
Thinking
Um,
then maybe sacrificing anyway.
yeah. And take. This is just good.
Check, got to go up, and take here maybe. Ah,
Six.
now he can. He can't go back because if he returns with the knight, you have bishop f8. Then going
And
back,
no, you
taking
can
this.
take the queen. What happens?
Okay, sorry. Yeah, this is probably.
It's not so clear still. It's, I mean, it's total.
Or
Ah, nice. That's nice. It's maybe yeah, maybe G, maybe H5.
yeah, maybe h5 is the move. But of course, you don't have to take it. He can maybe take on f3 and just use this rook on the fifth rank to try to defend a little bit more.
Mm.
Yeah, but it's a very complicated position. But
But I guess I must. I think he was afraid of H5.
yeah, after playing queen a5, white took, and this feels a bit slow. Then he can just take with the knight. What happens if white, for example, just tries to push? The knight got to go somewhere.
Yeah, doesn't have too many squares, so
I think h7 is the only one.
yeah.
And then just push the other pawns. Over here and here.
And this looks really special. I mean, this is on H8 and H7. Does
Yeah,
not make a good impression, yeah. And also, yeah, and also
uh,
this bishop on B3 is
yeah.
really strong here. So this looks actually very good.
Yeah, Ganguly should
Maybe.
probably just have pushed the pawns instead of taking on h5.
Mm, yeah, that was a better move.
Are there some fun piece sacrifices? Could he maybe do something like this? Just to create a square for the knight.
You mean on g4? Mm.
And this bishop on h6 is a little bit offside. And now this bishop is strong.
Yeah, I doubt it. But,
It's at least a crazy position.
mm.
And but if he plays, for example, knight to h7, this feels just over.
Maybe he should. I think
Knight c.
d4 maybe better. Just to try to. I mean, it's a bit more active there, and also black maybe doesn't mind exchanging this. Yeah, maybe you can. Yeah,
Okay,
who knows?
let's see what happened in the game, because it's very complicated here. And I think both of them made some mistakes.
Hmm?
So you who are a dragon player, do you like this for black, or is it still a bit shaky?
I mean, it's very complicated, very concrete. But for the moment, I like that the attack is a little bit stopped for the moment for white because this knight on h5 is stopping h pawns advance, and I mean if black starts to get some play with b5, b4, and also knight c4 going, then there might be some tricks for black. It's very dynamic, and lots of things can happen.
Mm. Yeah, you're correct. Here comes the b pawn.
So it's like a race who gets first because white is f5 just to smash the king, and black wants b4, try to open this diagonal on h8, a1, and also combining this with knight c4.
Mm.
Very sharp.
We have some slow moves here from Ganguly. For example, after e6, rook f1. Shouldn't he just push?
Yeah, that looks tempting for sure. Let's see.
Okay, let's see what happened after rook d to f1. Yeah, that's a really nice one.
That's nice.
Now Mamedov, he shows his tactics.
You think he missed this? Check out. Oh, he missed this knight.
He must have, because there are two knights on the black square diagonal, and it feels like he should save both of them.
Yeah.
But after b4 and f5 here, this is probably the position when he realized that after moving this knight he is freeing the square on b5 for the bishop.
That's the point. Okay. Yeah.
Because then it's an exchange here. And then
Mm-hmm.
still problems with the knight.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's the point. Yeah.
So now he thought, okay, I'm gonna push. But yeah, now it feels really good for Mamedov, I guess. He's clearly better here.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't look too threatening on the F5 at the moment, so
Yeah, and if this knight would, for example, move, let's say we play just two moves here, then suddenly it feels like he's checkmate here.
yeah, that's nice. Bishop on H8.
Yeah, it's a really nice bishop. Let's see, queen c5, so he's trying to remove the knight from d4 just to open up for the bishop.
Yeah,
And Ganguly is closing. It was maybe better to take with the bishop just to centralize it.
yeah. I didn't understand why I didn't take the bishop. Am I missing something? Because yeah, also it is a bit more active.
Hmm.
E5
And
also, but maybe a bit more exposed also. Why not?
he frees
Free
another
game.
square for the king, I
Yeah,
think. Yeah, but it's probably not wrong to take with the queen. That looks good too. We have a check. Okay, he took. Ooh, king c1. Okay, otherwise he was losing exchange if he takes the queen, I guess. So for example, after something like this, he could maybe go and pick up the rook.
mhm,
And this is probably good for black. He got two pawns and an exchange. Yeah, that looks nice.
yeah. Should be good for black. Okay, I believe black missed a nice move here, didn't he?
Yeah, it looks like that, because d5 here, sure, I understand that he's closing off this one. But can't he create some kind of checkmate? If he plays rook to d3 and the pawn takes, we have a
That's right.
checkmate.
Okay. So we have to take the queen. What happens?
Take with the queen. I
Ah,
guess
G1. Ah, G1 is hanging.
g1 is
Okay.
hanging.
We have to. Mm,
And if the king goes out, it's a bit exposed here. Maybe even something like this. And it should be some kind of checkmate soon.
one and rook f8.
Yeah, this looks really nice for black. So it should be winning. And if he put the queen here, then we have the bishop b2.
Uh, this is nice. Bishop b2. Have to play queen d2, king d2. But then you're going out to the fire.
Yeah, we have to chase the king again. So, for example here, he can maybe run on the white squares, but the question is how long.
This is like some kind of mate.
Yeah. Okay, this was maybe the way to go for Mamedov.
Yeah, that seems like a winning missed win.
He played d5 instead. He was probably thinking about same attack, but saving the king a little bit. Playing a safe d5, and this is maybe where they had some time trouble too.
Mm.
So, yeah, it's not easy to see everything in the time trouble. But here
Nope.
he gets a new opportunity after rook e1. And now
Mm.
it might even be
Another.
better, because queen takes, then there's a check here. and the king
Yeah,
is out and running again.
yeah, now it's even better. Yeah. So
Mm.
this move rook d3, winning 2 times.
Yeah, he missed 2 wins today.
He
So
would be frustrated when he puts this into the computer.
yeah, when he
The
sees all
computer
these.
screams rook d3 in 2 positions.
But Rauf is one of the most tactical players, so I'm actually a little bit surprised that he missed rook d3.
Yeah,
But here it seems like he is slightly better, but it's not that clear anymore. But he is 2 pawns up.
he is 2 pawns up, but on the other hand, the bishops are quite annoying
Mm,
for black, and also he has a active rook on d7, which is also good. So um, he has compensation. Maybe not for 2 pawns, but
mm.
for maybe one.
Yeah, now it's a lot of counterplay here. He should maybe save the bishop and try to build up something. But yeah,
Maybe try to improve the knight on h5.
mm.
G3 maybe also.
Yeah, either g3 or f6.
Mm.
So depending on if you want to put the knight on f5 or on e4.
Yeah, I rather want to attack the e2 rook. But yeah,
For
maybe knight
example,
g3.
here, here, and we have knight f5.
Maybe
But then it might be a draw again.
if takes
Taking the
h6.
bishop.
Ah, okay, sorry. I want bishop
Because,
e3 check,
yeah, you
not rook
want to
check.
take the rook. Yeah, it's still a bit complicated, but it was probably better to activate the knight than exchanging the bishop. And now he's still 2 pawns up, but it's very hard to defend the pawns. And for
Yeah,
example, after king h7, it looks like he can just play a move like h5.
yeah. H5 is that's a nice move and a very important one as well. Just breaking through.
Mm. So Rauf took the safe way out and was chasing the rook on the 7th rank, and they agreed on a draw.
Yeah. It was how to say interesting. Yeah, not the ending you saw coming when we had this wild position
Yeah,
before.
it felt like White was completely winning. He just run with the pawns, and then
Yeah,
suddenly Black was completely winning, and maybe the fair result is a draw.
yeah, maybe. I think as you said before that G5 was a better move, and they continued with F4 just marching the balls. Yeah,
But Rauf, he started very good in the tournament, and I thought he would be one of the top guys, but now it's been slowing down a bit. So he is not. He got 1 or 1.5 point up to the leaders. So it feels like he's not gonna be the challenger for the next year at least.
yeah. I mean, he has to put in some wins. I mean, it's a couple of rounds to go still. So, but obviously he has a lot to show.
Yeah, and this is the first round of the second half of the tournament, and let's see how it continues.
Yeah,
Tomorrow it's round 8. So
yeah,
thank you everybody for today, and see you tomorrow.
yeah. Thank you. See you.